Welcome to Blue Giraffe Finance. Today, let's talk about the financial history of the National Football League. The National Football League's financial history is a story of how a fragile, regional sport became a centralized, media-driven business model that now resembles a quasi-cartel of enormously valuable franchises. At the heart of this transformation are three intertwined forces: television money, revenue sharing, and labor battles that reshaped who captures the game's surging cash flows. When the NFL was founded in 1920, then the American Professional Football Association, it was a shoestring operation where teams relied almost entirely on gate receipts and local support. Owners were often local businessmen who viewed football as a side venture, not a core enterprise, and financial failure was common. League membership changed frequently, with small-town teams appearing and disappearing as they struggled to cover travel costs and player pay from modest ticket sales. Through the 1930s and 1940s, professional football lagged well behind baseball in financial clout and prestige. Teams earned money from tickets, modest local radio deals, and occasional promotional events. But the basic financial model was simple: sell as many seats as possible and hope local fans turned up in bad weather and losing seasons. This dependence on the turnstile meant that small market teams were always in danger. One poor run of form or a recession could push a franchise toward insolvency. The game remained regional, with weak national branding and little leverage over broadcasters or sponsors. The first glimmers of change came as radio and then early television introduced the idea that a game could be sold beyond the stadium. In the 1940s, when relatively few Americans owned TV sets, the NFL allowed its franchises to begin selling local broadcast rights for their games. Initially, these deals were small and fragmented, negotiated team by team, but they hinted that the league could someday earn more from images on screens than from bodies in seats. Still, the league's finances before the 1950s were fundamentally local and precarious, and no one yet imagined a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. The true financial revolution began when television spread rapidly after World War II. In 1947, the NFL permitted its franchises to sell game broadcast rights in their local markets, effectively betting that the new medium would expand interest rather than cannibalize ticket sales. Some owners worried that televised games would keep fans at home, but others saw that a televised match was free advertising, building loyalty and demand. The key structural problem at this stage was fragmentation. Each team negotiated its own TV deals. Big market clubs in New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles could command far more money than small market teams, which threatened competitive balance and long-term stability. Wealthy teams could hoard talent, drive up salaries in their favor, and make it harder for weaker clubs to survive. As TV revenue grew, this disparity became more dangerous than uneven gate receipts had ever been. Legal challenges accelerated change. The U.S. government sued the NFL in the 1950s over antitrust concerns tied to how the league handled television rights, forcing the league to rethink its strategy. Eventually, Congress passed legislation that effectively allowed the NFL to collectively sell national broadcast rights as a single package, rather than 12 or 14 separate deals. This paved the way for the league to sign its first truly national TV contract with CBS, giving the network the exclusive right to telecast NFL games for 2 years for more than $9 million. When that contract ended, CBS renewed at more than $28 million for another 2 years. And for the first time, the NFL's television revenues exceeded its gate revenues. That crossing of lines, TV money overtaking ticket money, marked a turning point. The sport became a television product first and an in-stadium event second. National TV contracts provided large, predictable cash flows that did not depend on weather, local unemployment rates, or team performance. It also meant that the league itself, rather than individual clubs, now sat at the center of a growing pool of broadcast money. The NFL's new TV-driven financial strength drew challengers. In the 1940s, the All-America Football Conference, AAFC, tried to compete, but its poor finances led it to fold after the 1949 season, with only a few teams absorbed into the NFL. The AAFC's failure reinforced the idea that without strong, shared revenues, rival leagues would struggle to survive long bidding wars for players and fans. The American Football League, AFL, launched in 1960, changed that calculus by understanding television as lifeblood from day one. Its owners recognized that a strong national TV deal could stabilize finances and give them credibility with players and fans. Buffalo Bills owner Ralph Wilson pushed the AFL toward policies that echoed what the NFL would later refine. Gate and television revenue sharing among teams, plus direct financial support to weaker franchises. When the Oakland Raiders ran into financial trouble, Wilson loaned the club roughly $400,000 to keep it alive, illustrating how intertwined league survival and team finances had become. Television carried the AFL over its early turbulence. Wilson helped negotiate the league's first TV deal to broadcast all AFL games on ABC affiliates, giving the young league national exposure and steady income. In 1965, the AFL signed a lucrative $36 million five-year contract with NBC, which ensured a steady media cash flow and allowed clubs to compete aggressively for star college players. The signing of Joe Namath to an unprecedented $427,000 contract in 1965 symbolized this new spending power and put pressure on the NFL. By the mid-1960s, the escalating bidding war over college talent was burning cash in both leagues. In 1966 alone, the AFL and NFL together spent an estimated $7 million signing their draft choices, a massive sum for the era that threatened long-term profitability. Owners on both sides realized that continued competition could destroy profits even as TV audiences ballooned. The financial logic pointed toward consolidation. On June 8, 1966, NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle announced that the two leagues would merge into one, with the merger formally completed by 1970. Congress passed special legislation exempting the agreement from antitrust laws, clearing the way for what would become the modern NFL structure, with two conferences, AFC and NFC, and a shared championship game. As part of the settlement, the AFL paid an $18.5 million indemnity to the NFL, and 3 NFL teams switched to the AFC to balance the conferences. Financially, the merger transformed professional football into a unified, nationwide entertainment product just as television audiences were peaking. It eliminated destructive bidding wars for players, allowed for integrated scheduling, and, crucially, enabled a single, unified TV contract that networks could justify paying a premium for. The AFL's existing television deal with NBC, $36 million over 5 years, showed that networks were willing to commit large sums for football content. After the merger, the combined league's negotiating power grew dramatically, and long-term national deals became the central engine of team finances. However, the merger also had immediate consequences for players. With no rival league to shop offers to, athletes lost bargaining leverage, and owners were able to hold salaries down for years. On one level, this stabilized team finances and helped build fan loyalty by allowing franchises to maintain stable rosters. On another, it set the stage for intense labor conflict in later decades, as players sought a larger share of the TV and gate money that now flowed into team coffers. The newly merged league invested in a more theatrical, televised product, culminating in the Super Bowl, which quickly became one of the most watched and most expensive events in advertising. As the championship game's audience grew, networks paid ever higher fees for rights, and advertisers paid premium rates for 30-second spots, turning the Super Bowl into a major revenue pillar that extended beyond the league into sponsors and broadcasters. This national spectacle would become a recurring bargaining chip in TV deals and a major reason for the NFL's escalating valuations. A defining feature of the NFL's financial model is its commitment to extensive revenue sharing, sometimes jokingly described as socialism for billionaires. Over time, the league adopted policies in which a large portion of national revenues, especially broadcast money, are shared equally among all 32 teams. This contrasts with leagues where local media deals and other local income dominate, creating wide financial gaps between big and small markets. Even in earlier decades, the NFL shared some revenue from ticket sales and certain national broadcasts, but it was limited. The home team sold tickets and then gave the visiting club a portion of the gate, and some shared pools existed, for example, for Monday Night Football broadcast money. As TV contracts grew, however, owners understood that equal sharing of the largest revenue stream would ensure competitive balance and make every franchise financially viable, regardless of market size. In the modern era, the NFL's revenue-sharing system has reached massive scale. In 2023, the league generated about $20.47 billion in revenue, and roughly $13.68 billion, around 67%, was shared equally among teams. That translates into hundreds of millions of dollars per club before a single local ticket is sold. In 2024, estimates suggest that each team received around $433 million annually from shared league revenue alone. This baseline income makes NFL teams unusually stable assets, insulating them from local economic shocks and even on-field performance. The revenue-sharing model covers not only TV deals, but also playoff games, the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl, all of which feed into the shared pool. Local revenues, such as stadium naming rights, local sponsorships, premium seating, and some local media, still matter, and wealthier markets can generate significant extra income. But the core financial foundation is national and collective. This structure both protects competitiveness and boosts franchise valuations, because a prospective buyer knows that league-level income will remain robust even if the team struggles. As television money surged, players became increasingly aware that their compensation lagged behind the sport's growing revenues. Through the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s, the NFL Players Association, NFLPA, fought for better wages, pensions, free agency rights, and a larger slice of the financial pie. The league's earlier ability to suppress salaries, especially after the merger removed rival leagues, led to repeated legal and labor conflicts. A critical turning point came in the early 1990s. In 1992, courts ruled that the NFL had violated antitrust rules by restricting players' ability to become free agents. Faced with legal pressure and the risk of greater instability, the league and the NFLPA negotiated a sweeping new agreement. Starting with the 1993 season, unrestricted free agency was introduced, allowing players to move between teams once their contracts expired. To prevent free agency from spiraling into uncontrolled bidding wars that might destabilize weaker franchises, the league implemented a salary cap, starting with the 1994 season. That year, the cap was initially projected to be $32 million per team, but because the league had just sold expensive TV rights, the first cap was set higher at $34.608 million. The cap linked team payrolls directly to league revenues, so as national media money grew, the cap, and thus player pay capacity, rose in tandem. Over the decades, the salary cap steadily increased, reflecting the growth in media and commercial revenues. By 2023, the cap reached $224.8 million per team, and it rose again in subsequent years, including a significant jump for the 2025 season to $279.2 million. That 2025 figure represented the largest cap total to date, driven by increased media revenue and the unwinding of deferred amounts from the COVID-19 pandemic period. Today, the cap system, combined with floors that require teams to spend a minimum percentage of the cap, ensures that players collectively share in revenue growth while preserving competitive balance. The push and pull over money did not end with the establishment of the salary cap. Collective bargaining agreements, CBAs, have been renegotiated multiple times, often amid threats or actual work stoppages. Each negotiation has refined the revenue split between owners and players, adjusted salary cap formulas, and set new rules around rookie contracts, franchise tags, and benefits. Financially, however, the core framework remains. As TV and other revenues rise, both the cap and franchise valuations increase, with players and owners each securing significant gains. By the late 20th and early 21st century, media rights clearly became the NFL's dominant revenue source. Deals with CBS, Fox, NBC, and ESPN for Sunday and Monday night games, along with later additions like Thursday Night Football, form the backbone of league income. The league expanded into cable and then streaming, carefully slicing its schedule into packages that could be sold to different partners at premium rates. In the 2010s and 2020s, this model intensified. The NFL signed long-term contracts with Amazon, CBS, ESPN/ABC, Fox, and NBC that run through the 2033 season, with total values widely reported to exceed $100 billion. These deals ensured that the four major broadcast networks would rotate Super Bowl rights, while Amazon secured exclusive streaming rights for Thursday Night Football. The league also experimented with new digital partners, such as selling the out-of-market Sunday ticket package to YouTube and arranging streaming-only games with platforms like Netflix. Analysts estimate that the combined media rights agreements are worth nearly $110 billion over 11 years, more than doubling the value of the previous cycles. Annual averages have been pegged around $9.2 billion from traditional TV networks, and when streaming deals like YouTube's Sunday Ticket and Amazon's Thursday Night package are included, the league is projected to receive an average of about $12.4 billion per year until 2032. This represents an 85% increase over the prior media rights cycle, underlining how central live sports, particularly the NFL, have become to broadcasters and streamers trying to hold audience attention. Media rights now dwarf other revenue categories. While licensing, sponsorships, and ticket sales contribute meaningfully, TV and streaming deals are the main revenue engine. For example, by 2024, estimates suggested that league revenue exceeded $23 billion, with teams receiving around $433 million each from shared distributions, most of which came from national media contracts. The league has structured these deals with potential opt-outs around 2029, giving it flexibility to renegotiate if the media landscape and its own bargaining power changes. The scale of this growth has reshaped internal financial incentives. Owners are increasingly influenced by media scheduling, digital engagement, and global expansion. The league's commissioner, Roger Goodell, publicly set a target of reaching $25 billion in annual revenue by 2027, a goal that hinges heavily on continuing to grow media income and exploring international markets. The league's move into streaming-only games and international broadcasts, including regular season games abroad, reflects this strategic focus. As the NFL's revenue streams have become larger and more predictable, franchise values have soared. Modern valuations reflect not only current profits, but also expectations of future media and stadium revenues under a stable, cartel-like structure with limited supply of franchises. Financial analysts note that rising NFL valuations have delivered massive returns for owners over the past few decades. The revenue-sharing system plays a key role in these valuations because roughly 2/3 of league revenue is shared equally. Every team enjoys a substantial guaranteed income stream, independent of wins and losses. For instance, in 2023, the shared portion of league revenue, about $13.68 billion, was divided equally among clubs. And in 2024, per-team distributions were reported at roughly $432 to $433 million. This makes NFL franchises resemble high-yield, low-volatility assets in the world of sports, especially when combined with salary caps that limit how much of that revenue goes to player salaries. Beyond shared income, teams benefit from local revenue opportunities. New stadiums with luxury suites and club seating, naming rights, local sponsorships, and premium hospitality products. Modern stadium projects often involve complex financing that mixes private investment with public subsidies, justified by the promise of local economic development. While these projects are controversial, they typically enhance a team's revenue-earning capacity, further boosting franchise values. The result is a league where even historically, smaller market teams command multi-billion-dollar valuations. High-profile sales in recent years have showcased just how valuable these assets have become, often selling for record sums that far exceed what previous owners paid. Analysts attribute this not only to rising revenues, but also to the NFL's scarcity. With only 32 teams and strict control over relocation and expansion, ownership opportunities are extremely limited. As long as national media partners and global audiences remain engaged, this scarcity is likely to keep valuations high. Today's NFL finances rest on a relatively stable, multi-pillar structure. The primary pillar is media rights, national TV, and streaming contracts that feed the shared revenue pot and underpin the salary cap. Secondary pillars include league-wide sponsorships, apparel, betting, technology, automotive partners, and more, licensing, video games, merchandise, and event revenues from marquee games like the Super Bowl. Tertiary pillars are local: ticket sales, premium seating, concessions, parking, and local sponsorships tied to team facilities and regional brands. On the cost side, the largest single category is player compensation, tightly linked to overall revenues through the CBA and salary cap system. Coaching and front office salaries, stadium operations, debt service on new facilities, and league office costs add to the expense base. But they are dwarfed by the scale of media income. The balance between guaranteed shared revenues and capped labor costs creates an environment where most franchises generate operating profits and where financial distress is rare compared with earlier eras. At the league level, strategic questions now revolve around maintaining and expanding the value of live game content in a fragmented media environment. The NFL has responded by spreading games across multiple platforms, broadcast, cable, and streaming, to maximize rights fees, exploring new time slots and special events, such as holiday games and international matchups, to open fresh inventory for sale, deepening international outreach with regular season games in markets like Europe and Latin America to enhance global fan bases and justify future international media contracts, structuring current media deals with opt-outs around 2029 to retain negotiation flexibility. There are also ongoing debates about the distribution of these financial gains. Players continue to push for a larger share of revenues, better health protections, and guarantees, especially in light of the physical risks of football. Owners seek to manage costs, maintain valuation growth, and leverage the sport's cultural dominance to secure favorable public terms for stadium projects. The push and pull between these goals will likely shape future CBAs, salary cap levels, and even rule changes aimed at keeping the product attractive and safe. Yet the big picture remains clear. The NFL has evolved from a fragile gate receipts league into a sophisticated media and licensing enterprise built on collective bargaining, revenue sharing, and aggressive monetization of scarcity and spectacle. From that first gamble on television in 1947 to today's $100+ billion media packages, it has turned Sunday games into a national ritual and, in the process, created one of the most profitable sports leagues in history. Thanks for watching. For more great videos, please subscribe to the Blue Giraffe Finance YouTube channel.